Welcome, everybody. Again, this is kind of our continuation of our training sessions. We took a little break over the holidays. Real quick, I'm Rachel Zeman, the founder and CEO of Benelinx. I have Leon here, who is part of our onboarding and business development team, relatively new to Benelinx, so I'm glad he could join us. He's going to be monitoring the questions. If you have anything that you need to add in chat, please do so. We'll try to get through some of those every once in a while throughout the presentation. I'll take a break and see if there's any questions. And then we'll see if there's any Q&A at the end. So thank you, Leon, for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Today we're going to get started and we're going to talk about commission training. So this is part of the Salesforce Benelinx system that is typically reserved for your agency owners, your accounting, your finance, your system admins. One of the things I want to mention is that this is an introduction to the commissions app and the feature. So this is going to give people an overview of the process, the important aspects of what we need to have set before we can successfully post commissions. We'll walk you through that entire process, including, if we have producers we're paying, whether they're internal or external, then auditing and reporting and reconciliations. I will caveat this, that we're going through a massive overhaul of our commissions feature in the Benelinx Salesforce system, and we're very excited about that. And so this is not the new features yet. We're going to go through, this is what is currently in your system. And we will be announcing the updates over the next couple of months. And then over that period of time, we will also be offering the updated feature to you guys as agencies. So lots and lots of changes to come. Overall, the same process. So understanding the fundamentals of the process is important. Some of the visual effects will change, and some of the enhancements we'll be adding to it to really give you as much granular detail as possible about tracking your revenue and the visibility of that in reporting and dashboard. So lots of really cool stuff coming. So having said that, with the caveats, let's get started. As I typically do with these sessions, I'm going to give you the outline and then I'm going to show and tell. So let's go through kind of what we're going to talk about today. So to successfully post commissions in the Benelinx Salesforce system, right? There's some requirements that have to be made prior to. And basic categories of record keeping that we need to make sure update and current at the account level. With our business clients or individual clients, we need to make sure that we have our broker producers assigned if we're paying out producers. Okay, this again, disclaimer, if we're paying out any producers, internal or external, we need to make sure that we have those assigned at the account level. From there, then we want to make sure within those broker producer records, right? If I have Rachel Zeman, I'm a producer of agency ABC, then I need to make sure within my contact record, not my user, my contact record, I have designated my comp, right? Whether that's a flat dollar amount, whether that's a percentage of the commission that comes in. If it's graded, I will show you what that looks like. So we need to get those set. Those are kind of one-time setups. If I'm a producer, I only have to go in once into my one record and update my producer splits. And then as my business clients, I need to make sure I'm assigning myself, or if someone else is doing that for me, I need to make sure those broker producers are assigned at the account level. From there, then at the policy level, we're going to go over the details, but there's two different workflow automations we have set up. If your producers are paid the same amount for all policies, I'm a producer, I get paid 25% for all policies that I'm involved in. Then once I set up the account information where I assign myself at the account level, and within my record of a contact, I've set the percentage, I don't have to update my policies. That flow will look back from the count, from the policy, it'll look back to the account and it'll find the producer and it'll look at that percentage and it'll apply it to those policies. Why do we do that? So you don't have to go in and update every single policy all the time. So there's some efficiencies there if your compensation for your producers is simple. If it's not simple, then we have to go into each policy and designate what that comp is for those producers, right? So again, if I'm getting paid 25% for everything I touch, everything I'm involved in, then when I set the account and contact level detail, when I create a new policy, it's pulling that information in for me. If it's not that simple, maybe I'm getting paid 25% for some things, I'm getting paid 5% on others, maybe I'm getting, a flat dollar amount for others, then I have to record that and set that designation at the policy or service level. I do also want to note that I talk about policies all the time when we're talking about broker comp, or even commissions. Our system has the capabilities of tracking and managing any kind of comp at the service level too. So we have records for policies and we have records for services. Most of the time I just talk about policies, it works the same as services. But if you do have a fee for service, or if you're getting comped at a service level, for maybe you're getting some commission for like a COBRA administration, maybe you're getting some back end revenue for that, then you can also post commissions to services. So instead of me having to say policies and services throughout the presentation, just know when I say policies and services also apply. Okay. So the policy detail, what are really important when we go into the policy records. This is really important for like first time onboarding new clients that haven't started posting commissions yet. And those of you that already are using a commission feature, you already know these are the critical fields that have to be kept up to date and accurate at the policy level. So regardless of whether I'm posting commissions or paying out producers, the policy records have to be ready and they have to be kept updated and current. And I preach about this all the time in the Benelinx system and in any agency management system. If you do nothing else, what records are you responsible for keeping up to date and current? Policies, right? That's our bread and butter. That's what we get paid on. So if nowhere else in the system you use and keep an accurate, indicator of what you have sold, keep your policies up to date. This is the time of year you should be renewing policies. Actually, ideally, you should be renewing them as you go through the renewal process. But at cleanup time is this time of year. Make sure your policies are up to date. What fields are required for us to successfully post commissions? I'm going to show you the record, but there are, a few fields that are critical. First one is the carrier policy number. Some people have renamed this, but this is the field that I talk about during onboarding that is the required field that must match our commission statements. Okay. Whatever the carrier has designated as that policy number has to match exactly from the commission statement into our system. Okay. If there's leading zeros, if there's a dash, if there's a GTL at the end, this field has to be reserved to match exactly what's on the commission statement. Here's an example of a real life Anthem commission statement. When you're like, what are you talking about? Whatever the equivalent of what the carrier gives you in a statement, this actual Anthem calls their field policy number. Some it's not that simple. But whatever is here, when I create records, policy records for dental, medical, as you see down the list, this number has to match exactly. So I cut and paste it in. I don't even type it in, so just in case there's a space somewhere. So that is a critical component if I want to upload statements. I can manually enter and post commissions one at a time. There's also an option I'm going to show you today. If we want to upload an entire statement at once, so the value add here is all the work I have to do to get those policy numbers to match, guess what? This is 1 month of Anthem from my old agency. That is 230 entries I'd have to make. I'm going to load a statement, right? That's the ideal state. We want to do that. I can load this in 30 seconds as long as my policy numbers match. So if I want to do that and make my life a lot easier than manually punching in one line item at a time, then the pros and cons is we have to get that carrier policy number to match exactly. Now, the good news is once I do that, we've audited, and a lot of people aren't tracking this at this level when we move people into Benelinx, or it's kind of sort of the policy number, or maybe we got 2 policy numbers in there, ain't going to work. It has to match exactly because I'm going to load this statement into the system. I clean that up though. And the benefit is every month after that, I get to load that statement, 30 seconds, I'm done, right? In addition, right, when I renew policies, the renew policy button that we reviewed. If I use the system correctly and I use that renew clone policy button and I renew policies correctly, that policy number carries over. So unless there's a change and we've moved them from United to Anthem or Anthem to United or whatever this change is, which we would then get a new policy number, right, from the new carrier, that policy number will carry over, right? So a lot of times, first time audit it, it's a lot of work, right? But we have to get it right so we can do the long-term benefit of loading this entire statement, every month. Okay. And again, is it required? No, but then you're gonna have to manually enter each line item, each entry. Okay. So for us to successfully import those statements, we also have to have our policy type set correctly. We talk about this. We probably didn't do as good of a job as we should have at some of our early onboarding. And now we preach about it again. Policy type. What is a policy type? That field. When I go in and build a policy, I'm telling the system, is it medical? Is it dental? Is it vision? Is it life? Right? We talk about this a lot during onboarding. We need to keep those policy types really clean. What do I mean by that? If I have 3 versions of life insurance, one person's going to select one, the next person's going to select something different. And we have to map those policy types into the system. If we have 5 different versions of life insurance and 5 different people selecting 5 different versions, we're going to get errors when we try to import those commission statements. Good news is we can actually manipulate the system. So if I have a line item in my statement that has a line item for life and a line item for AD&D, I can map those two to the same policy type. So we can still have within Benelinx a life in AD&D, one value, we just map it twice. So we can manipulate that. But the emphasis here is we want a clean system and we want it super clean for us to be able to map our commission statements and get those to load quickly and effectively. Commissions posted. This is a checkbox field. We added it really early on with Benelinx. We thought we were going to actually get rid of it, and now it's come back with full vengeance because it's a really important field. Why is this important? So we think about when we're renewing policies, we're creating thousands of records over time. We, on the commission side, want to keep only the most important, the most relevant policies available within our commission. So when we're searching, right, which commissions do we post to? That checkbox is going to be an indicator of, oh, no, those are gone. Those are archived. If the box is unchecked, they don't even show up in the commissions app. And that's a good thing. We don't want to see all over time. That's a lot. So that checkbox is critical. We want to make sure that box is checked so that only the policies we're posting commissions to are going to show up on the commission side. Okay. Couple things about our automation. If we use our renew policy button correctly, right? Then we have the ability to manage that checkbox more effectively. New feature rollout, we're going to allow you as users to determine when you want automation to uncheck that box. Why is that a difficult thing? Why should we just not uncheck the box when our policy's termed? Because as all of us know, any of us that have ever managed, ran a business, did any of the accounting side of an agency, we get paid in arrears. So if I uncheck a box because a policy renewed and that old policy is termed, this month I'm getting paid on that policy that was for last month. We're always getting paid in arrears, right? And so I'm always going to pay. If I'm in January, I'm getting paid for December in January. I may even be getting paid for November in January. So we can't uncheck that box just when we renew policies. It doesn't make sense, right? And so in the future, very soon, we're going to give you the option to decide when do we want to archive the old policies. Is it 3 months? Do you feel comfortable with that? Is it 6 months? We've decided we can't make that decision for you. So we're going to ask you and you're going to tell us, when do you want the system to archive those old policies by unchecking the commission posted box? The challenge we have is, and again, anybody that's gone in and looked at commission statements, is that every once in a while, the carriers audit. And sometimes they will go back 6 months, a year. They may go back 2 years and give you $1.50, 36 cents, for that audit. And so, being able to go back and post to those policies technically is the right way to manage your commissions, right? And so we need you guys to tell us, and we're going to let you decide based on your org. Okay. So commission tracking is difficult for all those reasons. But this field is really critical. And we're adding some automation for us to be able to help you with that, but knowing that we need to make sure we check and uncheck that box is going to be important to really keep the commission side of the Benelinx system nice and clean. When you do create a brand new policy, it automatically checks the box for you. Okay, so you don't have to go look for it. It's the unchecking that is our challenge that we're working on, and we're going to create that automation for you to tell us. Oops. Back. Okay. Also, again, at the policy level, if the policy or the commissions assigned are unique enough to that policy level, then we're gonna have to assign it there, right? We can assign the producer, right? Whether it be internal, external at the policy level. So if it's very unique, this one particular plan, instead of getting 25%, I'm getting I'm getting $100 for whatever reason, right? We can do that at the policy level. We can assign the type and value, percentage, flat dollar amount, and the value, how much, $100 flat. So we can do that at the policy level. That's only if you have complex producer comp structures. Okay. Talk a little bit about our new commissions feature. This is something we've been rolling out over time. And I'll talk a little bit about, we're not going to go into too much detail here today, but we will go through it in more details in a future training session. But we can now track not only our actual revenue, right, which is what our focus is today, but now we're going to be able to compare that to our estimated revenue, right, our estimated commissions, and that is at the policy level. We're going to be able to say, hey, before I post commissions, this is what I realized, right, actual. I can also put in the system, what was I supposed to get, right? From Anthem, maybe if it's ACA medical, I'm supposed to get $25 PPM. I can put that at the policy level now. And now then we can compare expected versus actual, right? Lots of analytics now we can run. So we have to decide how we want to track that. If we want to track it, we have two different options. We can set at the carrier level. You can design at the carrier level. I have sold Anthem and I have 4 different products I'm selling and I get paid 4 different types. I can create 4 records under Anthem. And then when you go in to build a policy and you create an Anthem medical policy, it only pulls in the options to select those commission estimates. The other option, again, based on some of our larger agencies, is that their comp is so specific at the policy level that they wanted us to build it so we could set it at the policy level. Each policy could be unique. So you can set it at the carrier level. It's a lot easier for your users, right? Someone's going in and building a policy and they pick Anthem. They're only going to see 4 options instead of 40. Or you can do it at the policy level because it is so unique. 2 options to track. Overall, the same data is calculated. Just depends on how complex, again, what your comp structure is from your carriers. So we're going to talk about when we go into the commissions application. This is our whole separate feature, and it starts at the application level. Just like when you go into Benelinx or Salesforce, you're going into the agency management app. There's a whole nother app for commissions. It's a green icon. Okay. And what that means is that certain users are going to have access and some users aren't. Most of the day-to-day users are not going to have access to, at the highest level, that app. They're not going to be able to go into it at all. So we set our permissions, our profiles, our settings to only give specific users based on who you've told us to give access to. At the highest level, that commissions app, they can't even see it, the app, right? They're focused on agency management. But we can also, just so everybody understands, not only at the app level, but we can control then what records they can see. Certain objects they're not going to be able to see, like payouts, commission payouts. They can't even see those objects, which means they can't even see those records. But even further down the line, we can also designate at the permission level what fields they can see. So everybody needs to see policies, right? But maybe not everybody needs to see the policies and who's getting paid and what they're getting paid. So at the field level, we can designate those permission sets. So only certain users as needed, see that level of detail all the way down to the field level. Okay. Very important, right? For us to know who's seeing what, who's managing what, who can edit what, who can, create records, etc., update records. We're going to go through the commission app and I'm going to show you the tabs on our navigation bar, right? All the different features. You'll see some things have already changed. A few things. We're really going to be hyper focusing on this whole application and getting it up to speed with lightning pages and all kinds of cool stuff. And that's where we're going to be able to, first and foremost, decide how we're going to get the data in the system. That's the hardest part, right? I have 230 entries. How do I get that information in the system? That always seems to be the focus, and that has been our focus at Benelinx. How do I get the information in? We're gonna move forward the dial this year, and we're gonna go from just how do I get it in? How do I reconcile? How do I see my analytics? How do I manage my business? We're really moving in, and I'm gonna make this number one priority for Rachel and Benelinx is getting you guys up to date on those analytics. The visibility is so awesome, right? And we've been focusing a lot on how do I get it in. So we're going to move that dial and provide you guys with more reporting and dashboards. And I'll show you kind of what we're working on. But we do have to get it in. That's a big part of it, right? That's been the biggest burden is how do I get all this information in the $1.50, the 36 cents, the $25, the $200, the $5,000, right? All those little items add up to a lot. So we have to get it in the system first. So we're going to talk about posting it manually versus importing commission statements. We give you visibility in some of the back-end management. So this commission mapping tab is really important. And we want to get you self-service so you understand what we did. When we do onboarding for our clients, we create those mappings for you. We create a library. Some clients have asked us, why don't you just do it the same for everybody? Because it's different, right? And it's enough. And it's easy enough to do the mappings for you. So we create a library just for you. What carriers are you selling? What products are you selling? Right? It creates more of a mess if we try to create a library for everybody. Because you might sell voluntary life with Anthem, but the next person might not. Right? So why not just create a mapping for you? But that's really important, and it's fully visible to you as system admins or commissions users. So we're going to encourage you to understand how to update those mappings. You may not create one, but you can go in that example. You didn't sell voluntary life before with Anthem, and now you did. You got to add that value, that policy value to your mapping. Super easy to do, and that helps you move on to keep posting commissions. Payouts are the records of the actual commissions received from the carrier that they pay the agency as a whole. My page here cut off. And then commission payouts are the producer splits. Okay. So once we get everything set up correctly, when we upload statements or we post commissions, they create payout records, right? That's the total value that's received. That's the entry. And then they split those producer comps for us. We don't have to go in and update that. So we got to get that information set correctly the first time. So posting commissions manual, I'll show you that briefly. What we're going to do is we're going to search. We have to search for either the carrier or the client. It pulls up a list. We select, right? And oh, as a reminder, sorry, the commissions checkbox. The only policies that pull in there are the ones that have that commission checkbox checked. So if it's unchecked incorrectly, it's not going to pull up there. And I've had clients that can't find the policy, and that's why. But we search for it, we select it. We have to manually add in the details, policy information, payout amount, commission payout date, deposit date, and we add it, right? We continually do that as we complete loading up and adding those manual entries at the bottom. If we reconcile it correctly, it tells us the total and it matches for us. Pretty simple process, but that's the manual process. So typically what we're going to recommend is doing that for the smaller carriers that you're working with that don't have electronic statements. Ideal state, if we could do it all for everybody, we will. I know we are moving. The industry is moving in the direction of providing more electronic statements for you agencies. So if they don't have it yet, I know that they're moving in that direction. So it always is a good idea to ask when you do your kind of refreshers annually with your sales reps. Find out if they have electronic statements, because if they didn't have it last year, they may have it this year. If they don't have it this year, they're probably going to have it next year. There's a lot of pressure on insurance companies to now provide that information electronically. And when I say electronically, I'm not talking about PDF. We're not there yet. We'll get there. Everybody asks. AI, everybody asks about AI. We'll get there. We're not there yet. So right now we need electronic, which means Excel or CSV files. I've done a lot of digging in the carrier portals, and I have found reports that I was told we're not there. So May not be easy to find, but a lot of times those big carriers have those electronic statements. They may not call them commission statements, they may call them a report, but they're there and we'll be able to dig around and pull those out. But again, some of the smaller carriers may not have it. So it's not a guarantee. But that's the ideal state. We get an Excel or CSV, we're able to go in, we're able to create that mapping for you, set the file structure, make sure we have the policy type set. That's a one-time setup most of the time, right? The big setup. Then we can import our statements every month. We import the file, we can preview any errors. As we move through, as we're adding policies, we're changing, we're renewing, there's going to be errors, right? The front end folks, our account managers, our account executives, right, may miss that voluntary life that they threw in the last minute, right? The carrier's like, can we just add that? Sure, why not? Forgot to add it, right? That policy got missed. This is a great way to audit the system. The back end talks to the front end talks to the back end. I love commission tracking because it does that. It cleans up our system. Because if we get paid for a voluntary life policy, that's ours, right? So if we may not have remembered to create the policy, and now that audit helps us make sure the front end and the back end match. In addition, then, we're going to be able to import those files and load them and reconcile. Okay, we'll talk about what the error messages are, red versus orange. Briefly, terminology, payouts versus commission payouts. We're changing our terminology. This is the last time we're doing it, I promise. But for now, this is what it says. This is the way that the records are defined. These are objects, payouts. That's what's received from the carrier to the agency, right? These are the entries that we can see here. Here's an example, right? Total amount received from the carrier over here, right? Commission payouts, for now at least, is what the producers get. So that's what splits. Okay, the house always gets the default. If I don't have any producers, I'm paying. And if I'm an agency owner, I don't have to pay myself, right? We probably don't, unless there's some reason that you want to split out what the house gets versus what you get. For most small agencies, you don't do that. I never did that. Okay, so if that's the case, I don't have to build a commission and assign any particular person to all my accounts and all my policies because everything goes to the house, which is fine. And we don't have to create those records because the system automatically does that. So this is the internal producers, external producers that you're paying, and we call those commission payouts. The system does the splitting for us based on looking at the policy level and or looking all the way back to the account level and assigning those contacts correctly. So in a perfect world, we have it all set correctly, whether it's at the policy level or at the account level. Once we load that statement, every single policy that gets and that payout that gets created looks at the policy, looks at the account, and splits them accordingly. So Rachel gets that 25%. Really important. Again, this is the intro to commissions. We're going to talk a lot more about this later. But there's a feature here that we've had for a while that most people don't know about, and it's called mass updates. This allows us to make changes once we've loaded everything into the system, right? What if, okay, I uploaded a whole statement and I put in the wrong deposit date? I can either delete the payouts, I can recalculate, I can update 250 records at once. I can use this feature to do massive updates to the records that I've already loaded into the system. Maybe we had a producer that was assigned incorrectly or for the wrong amounts. I can repost or update those commissions posted, right? That'll recalculate the correct values. If it was 25%, it should have been 35%. Oops. How do I update all that information? I can do it here. And reports and dashboards. Okay, we've given you guys templates. We're going to be expanding on those, right? We're adding a bunch of new features. We're adding this, this comparison between estimated and actualized. We want to make this fantastic for you to go in and see, wow, I didn't know we were getting this much from our business versus our individual. I didn't know that the leading carrier that we sold last year was Anthem instead of United. I didn't know that, the percentage of what I'm paying for producers is 60% of what the total revenue for the agency is. Whoops, right? So we want to give you that visibility. And I'm going to show you one of the new dashboards we're working on right now. So next week, we're going to keep moving. But again, as we go through some of these updates, we'll be having more and we'll add sessions. We have it planned that we're going to be continuing these sessions. I think I promised. my team one a month. Once we kind of get through these initial ones, we may have to do more because I know it's important. But next week, we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about the Employee Navigator integration. So for those folks that are using Navigator that are going to be transitioning from Ease, there's some new updates, that we want to make sure everybody's aware of and walk you through the basics of what we have set up and what is fully functioning as phase 1 of our integration with Navigator. Okay. I talk a lot. So let's show now with the time. Well, it's about halfway, so we're good. Okay. Move one thing here. All right, I'm going to back up and make sure I don't miss anything. All right, so let's talk about where I'm at right now. Okay. So for those of you that have access to the commissions features, the first element of that permission setting is getting access to the commissions app. Okay. So a couple things we talk about during onboarding and a reminder is that we are just because I'm going into a different application or app doesn't mean when I'm looking at policies that those are different records. We're still in the same database called Salesforce. Really, really important. Took a little while for me to get this, right? I was toggling. Oh, I'm posting commissions. Let me go back and find that policy information. I was going back to the agency management app. I was going into the policies tab, right, on my navigation bar. I was going and finding the policies. I was looking up the information. My computer will cooperate. I was getting the information, and then I was going back to the commissions app. Okay. So not necessary, because just because we have a different app doesn't mean we can't see the same exact information that we can see on the agency management app side. So when I look at my navigation bar, we have added policies. These are the exact same records that we can see on the agency management app. That might be mind-blowing for some of you. It was for me. It's a lot of work just to go back around, right? Go over here, look for it, go back over there, go here. This is the beautiful thing about building Benelinx into Salesforce. Every other system out there, when you go into a different module, you're going into a different module, right? Not us. So we can pull that policies object right into our commission. So now instead of going around, back around through the agency management app, guess what? I can go right here. Look at that. Boom. There I am. Okay. So we get into our commissions app. We have a navigation bar just like we have on the agency management side. Couple things that we're improving on. Okay. And as you can see here, we are now starting to put very specific favorite dashboards for our commissions folks. So you don't have to go into the dashboard, try to find it. We actually just put it right on your navigation bar, just like I also have put the report folder right on your navigation bar. Okay. Why is this helpful? I can go into reports and I can go look for my folder. I can go all folders, which is what I usually tell people to do. So that's bad of me. I go in here and now this is where I want to be. Or I can create a favorite, which is what I did. And I can add that favorite right to my navigation bar. I can add favorites, right? Right to my navigation bar. Boom, right there. And I can add it here. And now I don't have to go into my reports. I just go right to the folder that I need. Trying to make this super simple. We have different users that aren't using the agency management side. We want to make it more simple, more easy to use by bringing this information to the forefront. And we can do that really easily. So a couple of big changes there. I can build a dashboard and just put it right on my navigation bar, just like I can have my reports folder. Super simple. I don't have to look for it right here. Now everything I need for reporting is right there. Okay. So what is similar is our commission entry and our statement and our mapping. So those are the three most important pieces, right? Again, the focus for this session is how do I get the information in? So first one is manual entry. If I don't have a statement, I can search. Tells me I can search any way I want. Most of the time, if I pull a Delta Dental statement, I want to pull up all the Delta Dental policies so I can search by that carrier. First step is doing a search. Here's all of the Delta Dental policies, right, that have that commission box checked. It's an important note. And then I can go down the list and I can select. If I select this policy, it brings the information down here. And here's all the critical components, right? I need to put the amount in. That's how much we received. I can put the premium in. I think that's a really important value to add. So I can see that comparison. Was it 10%, right? This is how much your client paid in premium. This is how much we received of it. I'm going to set my deposit date. This is the date that the funds hit your bank account. Literally, right? We want to do that so we cash received, we can balance that against our bank statement. Okay, not when the bank statement or not when the commission statement was sent, not the statement date, the date that we received the funds, whether we manually deposited the check or as an ACH. That makes so much easier to audit our bank statement and manage, our total revenue for the month and do any reconciliations. The 4-month and year is important, right? So we can track cash-based accounting and we can track accrual-based. What's the difference? The day I receive the funds is cash-based. This is what we're tracking here. But we also want to know, well, what was it for? What month was it for? Like I said, we're always getting paid in arrears, right? So it's January today, definitely didn't get paid for January today, right? We're the 14th of the month, 14th day. So we're always looking at getting paid backwards, right? So I'm going to, and the commission statement tells us, let me pull this up for those people that are not familiar with commission statements. It tells us what month we're getting paid for, our due date. Okay. So some of them are different. Effective date, due date, right? So it tells us what month is this for, even though this might be a February statement or a December statement, what month is it for? So when we load the statement, all of this information is going to be automatically created with our record. Manually, we have to do it manual. So if I'm getting paid for this day, this is the date I received it, it's for probably December. I can also decide what type of compensation is it. Is it commission? Is it bonus? We're going to start getting bonuses here, right? For 2024. Is it override? I can add my commission or my statement ID information if I wish, and then I start posting. If I do the entire statement at once, you can see it's going to accumulate. So I'm going to go down to the next one. It pulls it in. It's holding fast a lot of this information, so I don't have to go and find the same deposit date. If I got everything from Delta Dental on the same day, it's still 1/7/2025. So now I only have to put in the difference. Right? It's holding all these the same, and then I add, trying to make that importing as simple as possible, right? And we're going to post those. It's going to accumulate for me. That's the manual process. Commission upload is going to be loading that entire statement. Before we can do that, we have to make sure we have a library built. This is what I told you is we build for you. We can help you update it. But again, at certain points in your expertise of the system, you can also just go into the mappings and update them. This is where your library lives. We are fully transparent. You can go in and you can see what did we do for you? Was it right? Was it wrong? We're mapping the structure of that statement. So when did the line item start? What type of date formatting is it? What fields or what columns are they designating certain fields for us? And we're just going to map those to our fields, right? Again, the sample just says these are the columns. This is what they call policy number. Not everybody calls a policy number, unfortunately, right? So we need to map those in and tell the system this column equals, in our system, what? Policy number. Okay, so one-time mapping. This is the part, though, that you guys could easily do on your own. Like I'd mentioned, we're also then mapping your policy types, what's already in the system. These are your values, right? This is what you're selling. But again, the carrier doesn't always have a clean way of explaining what policy types. We have to tell the system. MED equals medical. MED HMO equals medical. We don't care. Put it all in the same place, right? It's still the same value for us. Life insurance. So we're mapping that. If we have a new product that was sold, right? And we need to add, and what is Anthem call Vol Life? Maybe they call it VLFE. And now we go and we just map that to our vol life. Okay. You're going to get errors if you sell a new product and it's not mapped because the system can't find it. It's one of the variables it's looking for. It's looking for that carrier policy number and the policy type. So it doesn't load. Why does it do that? So it doesn't load the 36 cents you're receiving for voluntary life into your medical policy, right? We want to put it in the right place, in the right record. So we can see it, we can touch it, we can update it. You have full access to this tab. Okay, whether you do or not, we will help you with that and we will build your library. Maintenance and management, as we explain, as you go from beginning to advanced to intermediate, expertise is being able to go in and go, oh, I got an error. Humana, we only sold medical last year. We started adding dental and vision. I can go in here and I can edit and I can add those values so I can continue on with my day instead of having to send a support case in. We're giving you that access and visibility. Once you have those statements, right, you have a library for the average user going in every single month. Is getting into that rhythm, right? We've got all these statements. I'm going to go in next month. I'm going to grab Anthem. I'm going to go find my statement that is in a CSV file. You guys get to see my folder here for a second. Okay. It tells you CSV UT of 8. If you guys know Benelinx, that's the standard format. And now I go to import. What it's doing here is it has not created records yet. It's a preview. It's showing me what I'm about to import. Okay. And I can see every single entry that was on the statement. And it's giving me either an error, which is red, that's telling me it can't find something, something's missing, or maybe there's a mismatch. Maybe I have a policy that was assigned to vision, it should be dental. It's going to tell me those errors. Warnings are just that. They're warnings. Red, errors will not let you import, will not let you continue and import and create records. Warnings just say, hey, you might be want to be aware of this. The warnings are telling us if it can't match, it's trying to look at the commission statement and find policies that match based on effective dates. Again, remember I told you about that auditing? We go backwards. Sometimes I saw a principal commission from one of our agents. They went back 2 years, right? And if you want to get it right, which this one agency does, they wanted that 36 cents from 2022 on that 2022 policy, right? And so this is saying it's mismatched. Maybe you don't care, it's fine. But if I'm trying to import a policy for 2024 and it's for a specific date in 2025, it's saying this doesn't match, right? The effective dates aren't matching. Maybe you do or don't care. You can update and adjust as you need to. But the orange will not prevent you from loading the commissions. It's telling you though, this is where we're gonna put that payout commission record. Okay. So before we actually create records, this needs to be a lot bigger, which we're working on. But we need to make sure we set our deposited date again. That is cash received in the bank account. Okay. So we're going to select that date. We're going to note what it is. Maybe we get a whole bonus statement. We could do that. We can put our statement information here for tracking if you want to go next level. And now when we hit upload, it's going to create those records. Not until we do that. So we can preview everything. Tells us the total. Does that match my statement? Yes, it does. I did the math this morning. I go down here and did I have this? Is this the right record that has the total all the way down here? Yeah. So I just auto summed, matches. When I know it matches, I'm good to go. So this is where I do all of my eyeballing, right? I'm not worried about the records here because those are exact match. As long as the total matches, I know I can continue forward and create those payouts. When I create those payouts, what happens? It creates records. Every entry creates a payout record. So this is what it looks like. It replicates our entry line items, right? Every single one of these equals a line item. It's creating one for each of us. We have to. We're basically taking that information and directly importing it and creating records within our system so that we can get to a total match. It's going to take positive and negatives. It's going to go backwards. All the hot mess that we get with our commission statements, it's creating an exact replica because we have to have the pros and, the positive and the negatives to balance out to get a total. Okay. So it creates every one of these records. So you can see here, I can see those records. I can edit those records. I can touch those records, right? Again, we are very, very open architecture. We're going to lock it down a little bit more with our new commissions app, but it is open. I can see exactly what the system did. It did all this for me. Where I had to manually create that information, right? With the manual entry, I load the entire statement, and it's not just pulling in the commission details. It's pulling in the premium, the 4-month and year, the deposit date. It's pulling all that in for me. Huge benefit again of going through the effort to getting our policy structure set correctly. I can see then all of those records that were created. I have a filter here on my list view. Everybody that's ever heard me preach, list views are really important throughout the system. Mastering that skill is critical. I can pull up then a filtered list of all my records, and I did this so we could see every single record that we just created. As I mentioned, if we have a payout, if we have a commission payout, then related to my payout is where we can see those splits. System automatically does this for me. Okay. I don't have to go in and say, oh, well, this policy gets 25% and this, but as long as I've set the account, the contact, and the policy records correctly on the front end, when I go to post commissions, it's splitting the hairs for me. And I can see who's getting what, how much is the producer receiving, and the default goes back to the house automatically. Okay. If I want to see those commission splits at the producer level, I can do that here as well, right? I have this filtered to show brokers only, and now I can see each one of those records created and how much of the total this particular producer received of the total. I can go into those records, I can see the details, and I can back into the actual payout. So I can go in and see all the details, every granular, 36 cents, 42 cents. I can see the splits. I can see all that information. Here's another example, right, of what was split. I put the total in by importing the statement, and the system does the rest, as long as I have them set correctly. I want to show you real quick because I know we're running out of time. So a couple of really important elements that I keep talking about. Policy details. So let's talk, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that are the critical factors that I mentioned. There are 3 really important pieces, and a 4th maybe, right? If I'm paying producers, that at the policy level we have to get right. This carrier policy number, which for some of you have the I, most of our more current clients, we put this in here that says it must match. Exactly. If there's a problem with that, we can create another field that will give you the information that you need for the user on the front end, but this particular field has to be reserved for posting commissions, and it has to match exactly. If there's leading zeros, if there's a dash somewhere, has to match exactly. Okay. Policy type. This is the other field. This is where we went and did the mapping. The cleaner our policy type values are, the less room for error. I talk about this and I talk about this and I talk about this. This field has become so critical for functionality in Benelinx that we may have to go through and clean up some of your orgs, right? And we've talked about it, we've preached it, and it's really kind of a critical component at this point, not just for commissions. The cleaner, the better. I don't want 6 versions of medical because someone's going to pick the wrong one. I want very clean, like that one. I would probably say is a no-go, right? We want to have dental equal dental equal dental. Sometimes I lose that battle. But if we have 2 dental, then you're going to have some of your people picking the wrong one. And then we have to make sure we have it mapped correctly. So the cleaner, the better. But this is what it's looking for. It's looking at our policy number. It's also looking at our policy type. Why? Because some carriers, like Anthem, will assign the same policy number to various policy types. I may have a 443532 in my commission statement, but that same policy numbers for medical, dental, and vision. And again, we don't want our dental commission going into our medical policy, do we? No. So it's going to look here first. It's going to look here second. And then way down here, it's going to look for that commission posted right here. Okay. Like I said, we're adding automation. You're going to decide when you want that box unchecked after policies are termed. Maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe never. The cleaner we have the policies, the less there's room for commissions to be posted to the wrong policy. when we create a new policy, this box automatically gets checked. So don't worry about it when we're creating new. It's only on the back end we have to worry about, and that's where we have a challenge with when, right? Depends. Okay, those are the three critical components. Other thing I want to mention briefly when we look at auditing and making sure information is up to date, going through training with our agency partners on commissions. Okay, how on earth am I going to get all this information up to date quickly and effectively? What I recommend is creating list views. Again, my favorite thing to talk about. If I create a list view correctly, and I create actually a list view that's called commissions audit. I just leave it that way. And I can go in when I'm going through and auditing a commission statement and I can say, okay, I'm about ready to post Anthem. Oh, I posted it. There's 3 errors. I can go into this list view and I can just change this from Anthem to United or United Anthem. Okay. Now I can see all of my Anthem policies for my business policy type. And let's say I have these 3 things wrong. Boom, boom, boom. I can create those records. I can select them. We talk about this all the time, inline editing, and maybe this was wrong and it's supposed to be, I can update records all at once. Okay, save. I also, as you can see here, I built this list view correctly. So guess what? That commission posted box, here it is. What if I have these policies that are renewing and I only want the first one? Oops, let me undo those. And maybe I only want the first one where commissions are going to get posted to. I've got 3 policies that are all medical Anthem. I only want one of those to where we're going to post commissions to. I can uncheck those boxes. Is it perfect? Ideal? No. Are we working on it? Yep. Is there a perfect solution? Haven't found one yet. But we're working on making this easier. But for now, we're going to create the automation for us to be able to expire those, which means uncheck them. If you get errors when you're posting commissions, make a list view under policies. Keep it as a commissions audit. Make it only visible to you. It's going to save you hours and hours of manual entry, which is what I always tell people. Make your life easier. Go in and uncheck that. Now, when you go to post commissions, guess what? The only policy visible for this particular account is going to be the one with the commission posted box checked. At the bottom of our policies, this is where we can assign. So automatically when I create a policy record, it's going to look backwards to my account. If I go back to my account, right, and I go into this account, I can see where I assign those producers at the account level. Okay, whoever's assigned here, when I create a policy, it creates it here. If I go into, so that's the first step I had mentioned very beginning, assign our producers. This has 1. We have up to 4 we can create. They don't have to be all internal. They can be external. We're only showing you 1, but we have up to 4. Most people don't split hairs that much. Every once in a while I get told no. And that does not include the house. Okay. So we assign our producers at the account level. And if I go in to that producer one time, I want to make sure I have a broker producer record type. This is the type of contact. And down here is where I can designate. Is it a flat? Is it a percentage? What's the value? Right? If I set flat, changes what I'm looking at. Percentage, if it's graded, it's going to pull up. So we have to get our producers set correctly. At the contact level, we need to then assign those producers to our clients at the account level. And then more granular is if we have very specific comp that we pay producers at the policy level, then we have to go into those policies and we have to set it at the policy level. If not, it's going to look back at the account, find the producer, and look at that contact record. If it is complicated, then this is where we can add that information. I can assign, reassign. I can set a totally different comp structure for test broker. And maybe this particular policy, I'm going to pay test broker $100 instead of 35%. This has to be done for us to successfully post commissions, right? So you can see it. You can see what's going on. You can see what's happening with that. This needs to be set first for us to be able to then either manually enter or upload statements. 5 minutes left. Running out of time. Leon, is there anything critical we need to talk about? Because I have a couple more items I want to highlight.
No,
Okay.
everything looks good. Yeah,
Okay.
and no questions so far. So
Okay, good. Because not that I don't want questions, but I want to squeeze in just a couple more things before we're done with time. So I had mentioned there's a mass update button. See where I'm at? I'm still in the commissions app. I'm going to go over to my payout tab. That's the entry received from the carrier, right? I go into that over here on the right hand side, hidden almost, which we will be changing. Is this mass update. So I have to load the statement. I have to manually enter those. But if we come up with an error, we have to make an adjustment. Maybe after the fact, we realize that Rachel or a test broker shouldn't have received 35%. They should have received 25%. We can actually use this feature now to go in and make adjustments. Okay. This is all going to shift, but for now, this is what it looks like. A policy. I can then search for, let's do Anthem. See how it's pulling up the carriers that I have in the system. And I can decide how I want to filter those records. What do I want to see? Maybe I want to see anything that was deposited this year to date, right? That's an easy way to do it. And now I can jump down here and hit search. What that's going to do now is it's going to display then all of the records it could find that I've already posted for Anthem. Okay, you can see they're all down here. There's a lot. There's like 230, I think, right? Now this allows me to then decide what I want to change. I have to select the records, and now I can decide, do I want to delete them? Do I need to recalculate the producer comp? Maybe it was wrong. We have to recalculate. Do I want to update the payout date? The producers, when were they paid? Right? We can do all these updates, and it's going to give us the option to kind of recycle and recalculate all those payouts that were entered incorrectly at high volume. Really important feature because stuff happens, right? We accidentally put the wrong deposit date. Oh, I need to change that, right? Okay. Then I want to change it was what? 1/7, maybe it was 1/8. I'm going to go through and it's going to say, yeah, but you want to recalculate all the deposit date to that date. And now it's going to do that for me. Gives us the ability to update and make corrections relatively quickly with high volume of records. Last but not least, reports. Oops, I'm going to go to this one. So commission reports, again, standardly, we're giving you some of these basic categories. Some templates for us to be able to audit, create monthly billing reconciliations, and slice and dicing our data, right? I want to see it by carrier. I want to see it by premium. I want to see it by producer. Okay, all of these folders have standard templates. We talked a little bit about, did a session on reporting, same reporting feature. Got to go in and update our filters, decide what fields we want to see. And then those reports can live on. An example of this is our executive dashboard. This is where we need to spend more time. Okay. I will completely own that. That's where we need to put more effort in, and we will be in the next year, giving you more visibility for you to take some of these templates, whether it be on the report side and or dashboard, and give you this beautiful visibility of what's going on with your business, right? Why is this important? Because this is what it's all about, right? What is going on with my business? Where's our revenue coming in from? Here's our top carriers. Did I know that Delta was second? Well, second meaning what? Let's see. Oh, second meaning a very far second, right? So massive amount of revenue coming from Anthem. Is that good or bad? It's up to you. I can also look at it by policy type. What are we selling, right? What's the majority? Typically, we know medical, but we might be surprised. What's the second, third, and fourth? What about for our types of policies, our individual versus our group? What's the percentage of our business from both sides of the business? We might be surprised. We may have more individual than we thought. It used to surprise me. Okay. Our producer splits. Who's getting what revenue and how much, right? What's the percentage of total? How much are the producers making? Again, this is just the beginning of us getting to that place where you have your policy, or sorry, your report set. That's important to be able to pull, but that next level is now the visibility. Anybody can jump in here and go, wow, this is interesting, right? I was not aware. This is year to date, so this would be for this year only, which is a good. But overall, we need to be able to have the visibility of looking at this information. How much business are we bringing in? How much is this towards our goal? How do we break up the information now that we got it in the system? And I think we've spent so much time talking about how to get it in. It's time for us to move the dial and talk more about how to now we see it. How do we get the visibility for us to understand the analytics, what's going on, the revenue? How do we track closer to the line, right? Missing commissions. How do we track closer our estimated versus actualized? Are we getting paid what we're supposed to be getting paid from the carriers, right? And then visibility, where are we at? How are we getting paid from whom? Who's our number one carriers? Who's our number one producers, right? And so I promise you that, 2025, we're going to be doing more, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a visual, and this is just the beginning, and this is the intro. So hopefully this gives you just kind of a broad stroke of where do I start and kind of what are the requirements? How do I start looking at this commissions app and how do we start customizing it to really make it simple and easy for us to go in not only to post commissions, but now start looking at our reporting and analytics. We're out of time. So lots to talk about. Whole nother app, whole nother world, but very important. So hopefully this was helpful for
Rachel,
everybody. Yes.
we have a question, and thank you, Eric, for sharing your question. Eric asked if we want to update single commissions, can we do that in the payout tab and selecting the specific plan?
Yeah. If you want to update one record at a time, you can do that. Yep. And you would go, what I would recommend is you want to make sure the front end is correct, which is the policy level. So make sure that's corrected, right? If I've paid the person incorrectly and at the policy level, that percentage is 25%, it's supposed to be 35%, make that correction. Then you can go into the records and you can make those updates. I would also recommend, doing the payout. So we'd have to look at the situation to see which one made sense, but you have the ability to update one record at a time here. If there was an error, especially if it's manual, if you're loading a statement, you're not going to get individual payout record errors because you're not going to load the statement until it matches the whole statement value, right? You're not going to get the 3 cents, the 1 cent that's off. The only time you're going to get that is if you're manually entering. But the biggest point of auditing is the percentages, right? We may have not set the percentages correctly. And then what we're going to want to do, you can manually do it, but I would recommend instead of that, in most cases, is go and do a mass update. It does the recalculations for you. That's part of the reason why we added that feature, which we're going to move and make more visible, but that will help with those recalcs of those producers. Step 1, make sure the front end is adjusted and fixed. Step 2 is then reprocess those commissions.